This is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Today, I'm talking about something serious, and the question is, what is an African American? When we say African American, we are referencing the fact that we are Americans that came from Africa, but it's more than that. So in the sentence, I am an African American, African in that sentence is not a person. The person in that sentence is an American. African is a proper adjective describing the American. It's telling you that the American came from Africa in a ship through the triangle known as the transatlantic slave trade. The African served strangers in this land for 246 years in captivity, and the African was renamed slave. This African was one of many. And it also says that those slaves were afflicted. Affliction is something that causes pain and suffering. So the pain and suffering that they went through during those slavery days, that's the affliction that the Bible spoke of. That you will serve the stranger for 400 years and be afflicted. That included the beatings, the trees on the back, the hangings, the mutilations, the iron around the neck, all the things that they did to keep them from running away, the abuse of the women, feeding babies to alligators, all of the things that you can think of, and I will never be able to think of all of it and list all of it, but you get the idea. Those are the afflictions that the Bible spoke of that the seed of Abraham would go through if they did not obey. And for those who keep screaming that the Bible is just a book of fictional stories, okay, fine. If you can come up with a better reason for why we went through and continue to go through these afflictions, please let me know. So the African American is a unique creature. We're not somebody that just got on the airplane and decided to migrate to another country. We went through a divine punishment and we lost our heritage. And that includes, but is not limited to, our language, our tribe, our homeland, our customs and traditions. That's your heritage. Africans keep talking about African Americans not having culture. Everybody has culture. We lost our heritage. Your heritage are things that you are naturally entitled to. Culture is just what you do on a daily basis. They had culture on the slave ship. And the reality is we didn't even lose our heritage. It was taken from us according to Jeremiah 17:4. The scripture says, I will discontinue your heritage that I gave you, and will cause you to serve your enemies in the land which you know not, because you have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. So this is about God being really angry about the disobedience, the idolatry, and the nonsense that the people that we call the seed of Abraham, his chosen, were engaging in. And that is what an African American is. So if you didn't come out of Africa in a ship and serve in a land that you were a stranger for 400 years and were afflicted, if you didn't lose your name, your language, your tribe, your homeland, your culture, and your traditions, and yes, we lost our African culture, but we created a new culture. If you didn't lose those things, if those things weren't taken from you, you are not an African American. These were the curses of the seed of Abraham for not following the covenant and for being disobedient. Now, the United States of America acknowledges this history. 2019 marked the end of the 400 years that we have been here, and there was a commemoration of that. Trump was president in 2019, and he signed a bill and allocated money for the commemoration of the 400 years of Africans in America. African Americans. Now, the problems that we have with other races of people, other ethnicities of people, all of these things that we suffer from the hands of our own government sometimes and from other people, all of these things are associated with the curses. People don't like us that we don't even know. They'll come up on you, calling you the N-word or being nasty to you just for no reason. You're like, what have I done to you? I don't know you, right? But they don't like you. But this is a part of the curse. Their hearts were turned against us. And all of it comes back to disobedience. So that's what it means to be an African American. Now, Africans are our kindred. They are our kindred. They go through a lot of the same things that we go through because our enemies have associated the curses with our blackness, with our black skin. But the curse is not on the blackness. The curse is about disobedience and not following the covenant. Based on the scripture, we are the chosen. Therefore, we have a larger responsibility than everybody else. And we're not assuming that responsibility. And that's why we keep having problems. Now, we are still suffering from the afflictions. And one of the afflictions is the lack of education. For 246 years, not being able to read and write. That's an affliction because that's affecting us to this day. Our children are still struggling in a school system in many cases that they don't even understand because there's a language barrier and there's a social barrier. So those are carryovers from slavery. So that's a part of the affliction. The poverty that we suffer, we were not able to build wealth during the slavery system and the Jim Crow era. That's the part of the affliction. And so poverty is one of the curses. So all of these things that are generational with us are part of the affliction. This is what makes us African Americans. When Africans come here and they boast about their education and their degrees and all of that, that's fine. But those are the things that separate them from African Americans. They didn't suffer the afflictions. They came here in airplanes, not slave ships. They were not enslaved in a land that was not their own. Even though they went through colonialism and South Africa even went through apartheid, those were kinds of affliction, but theirs were different than ours. They were in their own homeland. They were always in their own homeland. No matter how many white people came to South Africa, they knew that was their homeland. They kept their culture, they kept their language, they stayed connected to their tribes. So that is what distinguishes them from us. And so that's how come we say we are African Americans and we are set apart. Also, part of the African American identification is trying to honor the ancestors. I think many of us use that term to honor our ancestors because they came from Africa, but they came from different areas of Africa. And I will just say this. Those boundaries that they've drawn over there now, Nigeria and Ghana and Cameroon and all of that, that happened after we left there. Those countries weren't called those countries when our family members were still over there. That's something that happened during colonialism. So we came from different areas, different tribes, different cultures of Africans. And if you look at our DNA, any African American DNA report is going to show several African countries. And that's the African part of the African American. So I can't even imagine why somebody who knows where they came from would even want to call themselves an African American, because you already know you came from Nigeria, or you came from Cameroon, or you came from Tanzania. You know where you came from. So why are you unidentifying yourself? But they are our kindred. And I think that we should find ways to connect and get along with each other. But we are different ethnicities because they didn't go through what we went through. And that is what defines an African American, what we went through. You came here in a slave ship in a land that was not yours, and you served the people in that land for 400 years and were afflicted. That is what makes an African American. Okay? Thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about this video. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.